Okay, have they joined? Sure. Okay. Hello and thanks for staying with us. It's time again for Political Platform on Repa FM. My name is Amechi Anekwe. With me on the program today is Abulo Semoagu.
Amechi, good morning and good morning, dear listener.
Okay, let's start with this statement from Shola Jaisimi, also here with us this morning. Thank you so much for coming, Shola.
Thank you for having me on the program.
So let's share this statement coming from management of Dark Communications PLC over the status of its founder and Chairman Emeritus High Chief Raymond Dopesi. Initial reports said he was indeed arrested in London as he flew in from Germany, but the statement from Dark Communications PLC clarifying the situation. And this statement reads, the founder of Dark Communications PLC, High Chief Raymond Dopesi, has been released after an incident which saw him delayed on arrival at the London Heathrow Airport on Sunday, January 8, 2022. Dopesi arrived via Frankfurt from Abuja on a Lufthansa Airlines flight and was invited off the plane before other passengers disembarked. Dopesi was delayed at the airport for some hours before his passport was stamped, and he was cleared by British immigration officials for entry into the country. His visit to the United Kingdom is not unconnected to the invitation of the PDP's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar by the British government to share perspectives on issues around the 2023 presidential elections. The media founder is the Deputy Director General Technical and Systems of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. Chief Dopesi wishes to thank all for their outpour of love, prayers and support following the news of this incident, and to reassure that he is hale and hearty. Signed, management. Okay, that clears the air. Now, the issue for discussion today, the protests, or is it protests? It's gone beyond protests in Brazil. We saw it exactly 2 years ago in January 6th, when supporters of the presidential candidate that lost in the US election, Donald Trump stormed, yes, and took over the Capitol Hill, the parliament, the Congress in US before they were dislodged. Similar thing happened in Brazil yesterday, just after the presidential election, where Lula da Silva, former president, won, but the supporters of the contestant, one of his close contestants, in that election.
In fact, the then incumbent, Jair Bolsonaro.
Yes, Bolsonaro felt that just as with Donald Trump's supporters, they said the election was rigged, and just like they did in US, they also stormed the Supreme Court of Brazil and the parliamentary building. They have been dislodged by security agencies who have arrested about 200 persons.
I bet you a very interesting one on the foreign scene. And the thing is that someone called it, I was watching the international broadcasters yesterday, and the analyst who came in from, who joined them from Sao Paulo, said this is something taken from the Donald Trump handbook. That was the way she described what was happening in Brazil. And like you said, the latest information is that many of those, scores of those who stormed that complex, because it's just similar to our own three-armed zone, in quotes, of in Nigeria, in Abuja here, where you have the presidential, you have the judicial headquarters, that's the Supreme Court, and you have the Parliament Palace. They went to the presidential palace. Lula was not there. Lula is in Sao Paulo. Recall that he had attended the funeral service and all the obsequies around former late football legend Pelé. So he has vowed that each and every one of those persons who were involved in this will be prosecuted. When he made that statement, it reminded me of what happened in the US as well, whereby everybody, they just took picture frames, and they just went for everybody and looked at them. I'm not saying such a thing will happen in Nigeria, but it brings to question how fast those in law enforcement and those who are political leaders can take decisions on what they need to get done. Not only that, the man who is in charge of security in Brasilia, the secretary in charge of security, He's there.
That's the country's new capital. They have a new capital.
Well, it's not new per se. He's been there for almost 26 years now.
Yes, new as in considering the history of the country.
Correct.
Just like we moved our capital from Lagos to Abuja.
32 years ago.
Yeah, moved from Sao Paulo to Brasilia.
So from Rio to Brasilia.
Rio, yeah.
So
Rio
the interesting thing is that man is regarded as an ally of Jair Bolsonaro, the former president. So they are asking the questions that these people have been camped out in Brasilia and many other parts of Brazil for a long time. Say they disagree with the result, disagree with the inauguration of Lula. That man has now been recommended for arrest by the Solicitor General of the country, and they are moving fast to say, "Okay, come and answer questions. Why was security lax? You saw that many people had converged, and they had an easy ride into the place. Why didn't you reinforce?" So we praise law enforcement in that country. We also praise the political leaders for moving fast. But the nexus is this. Someone has said, look, as we speak, Jair Bolsonaro is somewhere in the US.
He's even outside the country.
Okay. After he lost the election, he moved in there. So lessons for us. Lessons, really.
Yeah, thank you, Mechi and Shola. Even though they say politics is local, we have one or two things to learn from outside the country. Brazil, Lula da Silva, a former labor leader. The labor unions celebrate him every time, and they are also celebrating now after his inauguration 6 days ago, it is third term as president of Brazil. And the 77-year-old is sure of himself, and the people went and they gave him the ticket again to come at third time. A lot of lessons to learn, as Shola has said, for Nigeria. We are heading to election, and so many contestants are up there giving us their manifesto and giving us what they will do. Amechi, school resumed today, and we know the challenges of January, and some other persons in some denominations are observing fasting program. I want to encourage Nigerians, if you are observing fasting, make sure the peace, unity, security, and safe elections in Nigeria should be one of your top priorities, asking God to give us in Nigeria, because Amechi, you cannot explain why so many things keep changing. There was a deadline for security to end in December 2022.
To improve security.
2022, and National Assembly gave the presidency December to end insecurity in Nigeria, and the military is quiet to tell us how far so far with that. Only for us to see
over time we'll attend to that. Let's finish with the Brazil issue. Because we are raising it because we are close to a general election, and Brazil is one of the biggest democracies in the world. US is one of the biggest after India and all that. And if you come to the Black world and Third world or Africa, we are one of the biggest. I recall what happened in 2015 when the APC was at the lead and the PDP, the then government, Goodluck Jonathan, was trailing. There were reports, and I think we got the reports, serious reports that some people were planning to storm the International Conference Center, the Coalition Center for that election. But a lot of things happened on that ground, and it didn't happen. And it signifies the strength of our democracy. Can we look at US and look at Brazil and tell them, come here in Nigeria and learn from us? What we do is that we know how to run to the courts, to the judiciary, to express our grievances. Yes, forget what happened in 2011, very ugly incident, post-election crisis, where about 1,000 persons lost their lives, including security agencies, because a particular candidate lost. But we have gone beyond that. We have to consolidate on what we have. Going into this election, there will be people with grievances. Some people may believe the outcome did not come out in their own thinking. Some people may perceive the election to be rigged. Whatever is the situation, there are legitimate steps to take. It happened in US, it happened in Brazil. The question is awareness, but we know it will not happen here. We are people guided by laws, and our politicians from history, they know full well how to use the judiciary to express their disgust about any election, and we expect them to continue. Let's welcome Tevetia.
Amechi, good morning to you. Good morning, listener. I'm happy you are so optimistic about certain incidents or scenarios not happening. But don't forget, in 2015, it took one man, just one man, despite all the pressure around him, he made that phone call. So the only thing you can hope is, let's also have that one man after February 25 that would make that call, you know.
Just before you continue, very important point you raised. If Donald Trump in US had called on his supporters to stand down,
Exactly.
that invasion would not have happened. If the same former president in Brazil had done so what they failed to do is what Goodluck Jonathan did.
Yeah.
And that's what you are demanding that
yes.
other presidential candidates should do.
Exactly.
When about the time the results will be released for Nigeria's
spirit of
election.
sportsmanship.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So let's hope that will happen by the time we have the election. Some of us, Amechi, truly are concerned, and I want to believe that the security agencies should also be concerned, and by now should already be mapping out the strategies, on how to contend in case it happens. We are praying and hoping it doesn't, but in case it happens, what they should be able to do. Because, which is also what we also need to do as media, and all of that moving forward. There are a number of polling units in the country. The fact that your candidate won or wins in your polling unit does not make it that the person has won the election. The results in every constituency
Till the last
result is announced.
Your candidate may be leading, but last minute it could be
Anything,
overturned.
we saw what happened in Osun State, for instance. We saw what happened in Kano State, the governorship election. So, and we need to put Nigerians on the notice. They need to understand that clearly moving forward. That's why I keep saying, if you have a candidate, at least your vote is sure. Be in a position to talk to the next person. The next person should be in a position to talk to the next person across the country or across the constituency where those elections are holding. If not, we might have a situation we'll be unable to manage. I'm saying this out of experience because in 2011, it's a practical example of what happened in Bauchi State, where I covered the elections. The young men, just because their candidate won in their own constituency, in their own state, they believed that he should have won the entire country. And that was not the situation. And we saw how 10 youth corps members were murdered, were killed in that incident. We need to work towards avoiding such scenario moving forward.
Okay, talking about security situation, for the second time, train passengers in Nigeria are targeted, and we are yet to come out from the Abuja-Kaduna train passenger victims.
They went to my village.
Your village, Iguebe, right? There's a train station there. Some people.
Tommy Kimi station.
Yes. Okay, it was named after Tommy Kimi. Lead us more into this.
Yes. The train had not taken off when the armed men came in, suspected headers.
The passengers were at the station waiting for the arrival of the train.
Yes.
En route to Warri.
Exactly. The Warri attack corridor. And when this unfortunate incident happened, Amici, I must tell you that families are crying, hearts are bleeding. Those that were kidnapped, no news yet.
31 of them.
Yes, and you can imagine, school is resuming today, as I said earlier on. So many Christmas and New Year celebration, people are going back home to reunite with families, to start up working life, to continue with their daily hustle, and this happened. It's unfortunate. What the DG of the MD of the Nigeria Railway Corporation said yesterday on AIT, had him saying that they are working with the security agencies to ensure that those kidnapped persons are rescued. We wish him all the best, but Amici, I asked him personally. He was looking at me and I was looking at him and asked him in December that you said the Kaduna Abuja train station is going to be reopened. You have enough security, you have enough sophisticated security to mount along the corridor. There are accusations that you have abandoned other corridors. He said no. And this clearly shows that if the herdsmen came in there and they were shooting sporadically.
No, they said suspected. But we don't know yet.
Okay, yes. A suspected, sorry, as I said earlier on. If the suspected herdsmen came in and were shooting sporadically, what happens to the sophisticated security gadgets or alarm system you put in along Kaduna Abuja corridor that you claim you did in other corridors? So this also tells you that our government officials are not sincere with Nigerians. A lot of questions need to be asked. The MD of Nigeria Railway Corporation, Fidet Ohiria, need to come out clean to tell us did you put these same facilities in the Ibadan, Lagos Ibadan?
Maybe
and,
the terror
Warri
threat,
Takpe?
security threat alert was higher in that part, perhaps.
Well, what we have is this: at the moment, who should we be asking more of the questions? Because I, conducted that interview with my colleague on our sister station's main bulletin on Sunday night, and I posed the question to Mr. Engineer Fidel Ohiria, and he apparently didn't hear the question. I posed it again. He said he can't hear the question, and the question was clearly that, look, some of the DGs, MDs of statutory corporations and agencies under ministers, they try their best. But we see a situation where political influence oftentimes crowds out what these persons actually need to do or need to say. Because Sambo Jaji, the man who replaced Rotimi Amechi as Minister of Transportation in that particular ministry, he also needs to be asked questions. The ministry has said, we are doing everything, we do this. The important thing, like Abulu Patrick has just mentioned, is that they should let us know. Not when things concern security, don't expose it in the open. I agree with that. But people need this reassurance. Was the emphasis only on Kaduna Abuja rail corridor? That's a big question, because people who commit evil, who are into all these nefarious activities, they watch you. And when you're in one direction, they go in the other direction. So we encourage the police in that place to try as much as possible. I saw the reinforcement yesterday. I saw the number of people they said we're heading into the forest to go track where these people are coming from. So intelligence gathering is actually key. The people in the community should also help those headers who are alleged to have done this, because I know the people who are involved will not just start saying all sorts. The Edo State government, Philip Shoaibu, the deputy governor, was also there. Say, look, we need to get to the bottom of this. So it's a sad one. It makes people scared. On the road, you're not free. Railway, you're not, in the water.
Up to that, no group has claimed responsibility.
And the security agencies are yet to make any statement on that. Teve, what we need to do, the normal thing, commonsensical, is that we do a radius of where they could be. They say they made off on foot, so you can calculate where they could have been. Cordon off the place, and from all angles moving. Or would they tell us because of collateral damage they will move in again?
Amechi, what was the response rate? If they attacked and moved with we're hearing 30, 31, someone was saying 32 passengers or 32 persons, what was the response rate? Because if you didn't respond the same way we had in the Chibok, they would have gone way far before. So you can come everywhere with the kind of thing Shola is saying. I wonder what they even want to achieve, with all those showing of people, the hunters and all those. As you are saying, you think they don't have their men who are also monitoring how you are trailing them. So sometimes when some of these things happen, you just see a lack of capacity, lack of even intelligence, let me put it that way, in handling the situation. Amechi, look, we must not take this case in isolation. Ondo, Edo, Kogi, from Owo. We saw what happened at the palace of the Ohine. And we also know the identity of the persons that were arrested in the Owo incident, and all of this has been an active belt for Boko Haram and ISWAP. So it only goes to show that we lost the intelligence, to keep track and ensure that some of these things don't happen. They've happened. There were no CCTV.
It was planned, so we should have broken into that plan.
The most we can do, like I keep saying, is anything we need to do now because this one is not even rescue, because out of all this we've never seen any rescue. Get them released. That is the only, whatever it is, so that they go back to their families.
It's only when there is a protest in Abuja that I readily see police helicopter